Ever since I launched Thrive Global, I wanted our media platform to be about two things. One, bringing together all the latest science that proves that, in fact, performance and well-being are not on opposite sides of the ledger. And then collecting role models of people who have succeeded, who can demonstrate how they do it in a different way. They are basically disrupting the way we think we need to work in order to succeed. So I've been going around the world collecting role models, and these are my 3 gems. So I want to tell you how I met them. I met Barry at the JP Morgan investment conference in Miami a few months ago, and we got to talking, and he started telling me his story of how 10 years ago he had started putting on weight. He was, as he put it, in a mental fog. So he took matters in his own hands and changed his life. And the results have been amazing, both for himself and for his career, as you're going to hear from him. Incidentally, he is the CEO of wealth management at JP Morgan. That's why I met him at the JP Morgan conference. Deborah, I met at the last conference here, and we immediately hit it off. And I loved so many things about her, including the way she used IBM Watson. She's the general manager of IBM Watson for her own health when she had a difficult diagnosis that we're going to discuss. The way she uses martial arts is actually the only black belt on this panel. And as you may know, IBM Watson has been described as IBM's moonshot to improve health on a global scale. And Chip, I met in Davos last year at a dinner that Jack Ma hosted. And of course, immediately we started talking about what he is doing, about his own well-being and health, and how this is impacting the company that he's CEO of, Levi Strauss. And in case you're wondering, yes, he is wearing Levi's, but they are customized Levi's. And you can get them in San Francisco, in New York, and in London, and soon at Champs-Élysées in Paris. And I'm sure he'll tell you all about them. So, Barry, let's start with you. So 10 years ago, when you had that moment of deciding your life was going in a direction you didn't want it to go down, what made you take matters in your own hands, and how did you change your life?
Well, first of all, it's great being here, and meeting you was a thrill, and I really enjoy our friendship. 10 years ago, I literally found myself, I met someone who, actually meditation, TM, I saw a transformation in this person's life. And when I mean what I saw, professionally it was incredible, but almost more importantly, I know this person socially, watching the way he interacted with his children, his wife, the conversations I had with him. I've known this person for 30 years, and I saw a different person, someone who, like, when you looked at him, he was actually completely present, happy, and he actually introduced me to someone who both you and I know, Bob Roth at the David Lynch Foundation, who taught me how to meditate. I've been a passionate meditator twice a day for 10 years. I literally very rarely will miss an opportunity to meditate. Actually, I cheated. I left one of the panels. I was out in the back. Sorry about that, in the sun meditating. But for 2 times 20 minutes a day, and it was transformational. And the other thing that I made a priority, and I know it's a passion of yours, Arianna, is sleeping. I have to get 8 hours, 7.5 to 8 hours of sleep a night. And one of the things I realized is the way I was living life, I found myself not performing at best because I wasn't sleeping enough. And I've literally changed my schedule around, changed my lifestyle around, where every single night I sleep for 8 hours. And I find that when you do that in a workplace, and it's okay to sleep. In fact, we've changed our dinners at JP Morgan. I mean, when I do a dinner, we'll meet at the restaurant at 5. It's okay, not at 8 and 5, and then you're home, and so you can be in bed by 8:30, 9. And my kids, I have a 13-year-old and a 12-year-old. They make fun of me all the time. They put daddy to sleep. But daddy goes to sleep, and I wake up every morning, incredibly happy.
So I just want us to pause for a moment and realize what's happening here. We have the CEO of Global Wealth Management at JP Morgan talking about getting 8 hours sleep and meditating twice a day. You realize that this goes completely against the mainstream assumption that a place like JP Morgan is a boiler room of burnout. So that's the kind of culture shift that is so amazing to see. And even in your own company, Barry, as you and I have talked, a lot of people don't yet realize that. That's why I'm outing you everywhere.
Yeah, well, you should, and you're making a big difference. I told you this story literally when I saw you. I just wanted to share it with the group. It happened last week. I was in a meeting, 20 people working on this big project, and somebody in the room said, listen, we just got to sprint to the end. Sprint, sprint, sprint. Sprint. We're going to sprint. We're going to get all this done. We're going to sprint, sprint, sprint. And he said, like a cheetah. You know, and I literally, in Arianna's book, which you all should read, I remember in chapter 2, early on in the book, there was a line-up, a quote or someone who shows that cheetah is actually the fastest animal in the world, which most people know. Well, most people don't know, and I certainly didn't know this. A cheetah sleeps 18 hours a day. So I use that as an opportunity to act smart, that I'm well-read, and I said, do you know that a cheetah, you want us to run like cheetahs, but like no one here slept close to 18 hours. So like you can't sprint. And I think like if everyone just slows down a little bit and like focuses more on the qualitative side, like there's major things we can achieve together in life.
And I love that when I spoke at your conference, someone came up to me afterwards and said, you know, that's all very well, but I have a very big job and I can't sleep and meditate and do my job. And I said to him, who do you report to? And he said, Barry Sommers. I said, well, go talk to Barry.
He now does 5 o'clock dinners too.
So, Deborah, you became the general manager of Watson Health 19 months ago. And 5 months into your new job, you got a diagnosis for cancer. And that was a big moment, not just for you personally, but in terms of how to use Watson for your health diagnosis and decision what to do about it. Would you share that story with us?
So I got this great job. My team is sitting over here, and they're laughing because I make them meditate. I have meetings where we meditate. And they think that I'm crazy, but now you hear. Yeah. And so I got this great job, and then it's got the job in September and February. I went for my, thank goodness, don't put it off, I went for my screening for my annual mammogram, and they did a biopsy. And then 2 weeks later, I got this call from this really very unhelpful physician who said, we found cancer. And it's really, I don't know if anyone who's a cancer survivor knows that you think that you'll go to an academic medical center and you will get one answer of your cancer. But I know literally, because I'm a little crazy, I went to 3 breast surgeons. First of all, they didn't know what size it was. Secondly, I got 2 different recommendations as to what kind of surgery. Then I went to oncologists and I got, chemotherapy, no chemotherapy. And then I got 3 different recommendations for radiation oncology. And when you're devastated because, I have a daughter, she's 17 now. I have a husband, I have a life, I have this beautiful job that, I was so passionate about. We're going to do beautiful things for patients, including oncology patients. So now we have Best Doctors, who gives a second opinion service, who uses Watson for oncology. If you run into this situation, you can call Best Doctors, and IBM gives this now as a benefit to all IBM employees. However, I actually went on to Watson for Oncology myself and typed in all my stuff and got the answers to what Watson would do. And of course, the fine oncologists at Memorial Sloan Kettering trained Watson, and somehow this just gave me peace of mind as to the path to take, because you say, one of these paths must work better. Why is this great variability in care? So anyhow, and so I followed the path. I had one type of surgery, I had one type of treatment, and I had one type of drug, and so.
And you're in remission, and you are religious about your mornings and how
Yes,
you start
yes,
your day.
I
Tell
do
us
not.
about it.
And I felt a little ripped off because every morning, since 1990, every morning I wake up and I read something. And then I meditate for 20 minutes. And I eat like clean, clean, clean. Isn't it, guys, right? I mean, I pretty much eat salad and chicken and salmon. So I felt completely ripped off that I meditate and I eat well, and then I got this diagnosis. But I think there's a reason for it. But I think I really wouldn't have survived any of this if I didn't wake up every morning and meditate for 20 minutes. Now I'm thinking I have to add the 20 minutes in the afternoon.
Again, the 2 times a day was the kicker for me.
Is that right?
Yeah, and then someone said, you know, you get, like, I took it, even if you have to take it away from your sleep, sorry, Arianna, sometimes you have to go into your sleep, you got to get the second one in.
By the way, I go to sleep at 8:30. Also, I go to sleep at 8:30. My daughter laughs at me, but I go to sleep at 8:30.
Yep.
Chief, what time do you go to sleep?
I go to sleep about 9:30, and I get 7.5 hours of sleep or so. I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning to work out every
The
single day.
CEO of a major multinational company. I want to keep underlining that because everybody in the room knows this is cutting edge. This is not how we think the world works, and it's changing, and we need to do our best to get the word out.
The storyline in business was always, you know, how little sleep could you get by with,
Yes.
so you could do everything else. And, you know, now there is so much evidence that sleep impacts performance. So if you know that, why wouldn't you try to get the 7.5 or 8 hours of sleep that your body needs? I just read somewhere about a week ago, LeBron James gets 12 hours of sleep.
Yep.
Before
every
a
night.
game,
Yeah.
yes. And Jeff Bezos wrote a piece for us, and the headline was, "Why am I getting 8 hours of sleep is good for Amazon shareholders." So it's really the connection between being fully recharged and your decision making, which is, after all, what a CEO is judged by, right?
That's right.
So how have you taken what you are doing for yourself and applied it to the company?
So I've always been an athlete, grew up playing sports. After I got out of school, I was in the Army, started running competitively. I've done triathlons, marathons, all that kind of stuff. And for me personally, I always saw a connection between what I was doing for my own health and well-being and fitness and stress relief and everything else that I got out of exercise and performance. I'm convinced part of the reason Cliff invited me to this conference is that I lower the IQ in the room. But for me personally, I just felt that there is this connection between health, well-being, wellness, and performance. So when I joined Levi Strauss, I was recruited from the outside into the CEO position. I spent 28 years at P&G. And when I got to the company, I realized that the company had had 20 years of really erratic business results, to put it mildly. It was a turnaround situation. And I realized that part of what I had to do is change the culture in the company, which is, ask anybody, that is the hardest thing to do, is to change the culture. You can put in a new strategy, you can put in a new top team, you can put in new ways of doing business, new processes, but changing the culture is really, really hard. And what I wanted was a culture of performance and accountability. And my own personal belief that fitness, wellness, well-being, broadly defined, the whole human, drives performance. And we put that in place. We created a program which is called Wellth, W-E-L-L-T-H. I'm a marketing guy after all. And it really does focus on every aspect of the employee's life. I try to role model it. I go out and work out. When I'm in the office, I work out at lunch. I work out in the morning, and I will work out at lunchtime 2 or 3 days a week. Because if the CEO can leave the office for an hour or an hour and a half in the middle of the day to go work out and come back and be more productive in the afternoon, why can't everybody else? We subsidize gym memberships at the gym next door and provide nutritious opportunities in the cafeteria, all to drive employee wellness.
And you try and make sure that your employees know you're working out, know you're getting enough sleep, so that it's almost as if from the top they're given permission to do the same.
I mean, I walk down the stairs in the building so people see me walking out the door with a gym bag over my shoulder at lunchtime so that they know that that's okay to do. We do offer, at our headquarters location in San Francisco, we subsidize gym memberships at the gym kind of right across the street from us. The normal monthly membership there is about $200 a month. And if you're traveling a week or 2 weeks a month and you get to the gym 5 times that month, you can do the math on that. That's not a great proposition for the average employee in San Francisco. So we cut a deal with the gym where we subsidize the membership. The employee has to, I do believe there has to be skin in the game from the employee standpoint, but they pay $50, we cover the rest. Our gym memberships went from under 100 to almost 500 in a total population of 1,000. And that's one of the things that's helping to contribute to us now driving healthcare costs down.
Exactly. Fantastic.
I think the other, it's interesting, you talked about, you make sure people see you working out and walking out, walking out of the building, whether it be early or later. I have found in a culture like Wall Street, people are obsessed with like how many hours you work. Like I remember my grandmother when I started in the career, she goes, I heard her telling a friend of hers how hard I work. Like it was commended, like you won't believe how many hours he works. Like it was a good thing. And I think what we have to show as leaders is that it's okay. I was telling your story. I was on vacation last week. When you're on vacation, you should be on vacation. And I have found many times when you're on vacation, and you have a conference call, and your boss puts a conference call on the schedule, like you're probably going to call in. And as leaders, we have to make sure that we know when our people are on vacation, like they can't call in. Because I was explaining to people, just so you know what that call does. It may be a half hour to you, but it's at 10 o'clock in the morning, so like at 9 o'clock, I'm starting to think about the call. Probably had to prepare for it last night if I did it right. Now I got to leave my kids and my wife. I got to be in a room. I got to leave it. Then I do the call. And now after the call, like it's an 80% chance I'm in a bad mood. So you literally, you just like ruined 5 hours of my life with that half-hour call. Like it could definitely wait till next week. And I just used it as an example of way too many people at my company and other companies. They're getting out of there as quick as they can because they are totally burnt out. They are running as fast as they can, holding on for dear life. And like they can't wait till they leave. And like there's a lot we could do to change that.
I mean, at the end of the day, it really is about productivity. And that's really what I'm trying to create at the company is putting the conditions for success in place so that people can be more productive.
Right.
I don't really care how many hours they work. I want them to be able to be their best, to bring their fullest self to the job so that they can make the biggest impact on the business.
And it's kind of ironic because we are all in data-driven businesses. We kind of worship data in a way, and yet we're ignoring the data when it comes to the connection between how we live our lives and our performance and productivity. And one of the latest problems that has made it harder to disconnect is, of course, our addiction to technology. So how are you all managing that? Deborah, of course, you are demonstrating both, the incredible benefits of technology, revolutionary, something we celebrate, but also you're very aware of the dangers in the way you set boundaries to your own use.
I set boundaries for myself, and then I hope my team follows the example. IBM definitely has a culture of work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day if you want to. And I always tell my team, professional tennis players, when they're on the point, they're on. And when they're not on the point, they rest. And they need that rest to be able to make the point. So I really try to make it a habit of not emailing my team on the weekends. If it's an emergency because, something is blowing up, I'll do it. But otherwise, I don't do it. And I think slowly it comes in. And then my team said, for the first time, because we have a mixture of people who work at IBM Watson Health, a lot of people who came from the industry, but the IBMers that came in, they said, for the first time in years, I'm not worried that I miss an email on a Saturday. And what does that do when you want to go watch your kid's baseball game, or I want to go watch my daughter's crew race? I mean, you can be there. And it's very, very important. And having that weekend to recharge, gets you back. And you know what? I think they're more committed to Watson Health. I think they're more bonded to the business. I think we're going to do a better job because we put in our values, you know, do all the things that you want for values: innovation-driven, performance-driven, client-driven. The last one is a culture of health. The last one is a culture of health. Very important. Very important.
I've got an 8-year-old daughter. I've got 2 grown boys from my first marriage, but I've got an 8-year-old daughter. And so the session earlier on multitasking really hit home. And one of the things that we've put in place at home is the electronic devices are nowhere close to the kitchen table when we have dinner. Because, you know, I see how her brain is getting wired by all the devices. And so we try to focus on one another and have that quality time around the dinner table. And I move my phone, my wife moves her phone, and the iPad and all the other contraptions are out of the room.
It also really is amazing because the impetus for me meditating and putting the device away was like a horrible, like what my daughter once said to someone else, like, I hate when daddy takes out his machine or whatever she called it. And I realized, you know, it's sitting right there. I could be thinking that I'm totally present. But, you know, it's this thing sitting there, and either it vibrates or it beeps, and then, like, as much as I want to look at that, and then they know, I mean, that they're not getting your full attention. I have absolutely no problem, because I go to sleep at 8:30. Everyone on my team knows, like, there's nothing. I used to run the retail bank at Chase. I ran the 6,000 branches. That's a job that sometimes you can get called, like very rarely, you know. But in the job of running a wealth management business, there's really nothing that someone's going to have to get to me from 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock in the morning that I'm going to be able to do anything about. I found that most of the people are emailing because it's a great way to say, now he knows, right?
Yeah.
I let them know I'm going to know probably at 5 o'clock when I wake up. And if there's something in between there that you think I have to know, you should call my house, and my wife knows to wake me up. But it's amazing when you kind of ask everyone to calm down, that there's nothing that could not wait until 5 o'clock in the morning in the business I'm currently in.
And there are also ways around it. I mean, we are recommending in our corporate trainings, let's say if you are in a job where something may happen very occasionally, but occasionally in the middle of the night, get a dumb phone with a number and give it to that person. That's a very different feeling than having your smartphone that is the portal to every problem and every project by your bed. And yet 70% of people sleep with their phones by their beds. And what we are finding, and even if people don't realize the price they pay themselves, they're beginning to realize what it does to your children, to their children. So it's almost like an entry point through their concern for their children. Exactly. You were saying, Barry, that your almost teenage daughter and your teenage son have a hard time disconnecting.
Oh, I mean, again, you know, this device, you know, we try to take it away at the mealtime as well, but this device has become where they do everything. Not only do they communicate with all their friends, but like they get news quicker. My son's a big sports fan. He knows everything that's going on immediately. And so this device is their pipeline to the world. One of the things that it also has done is we were on vacation last week, and we were on this boat. We had a great time, and we caught this fish. And the 2 kids, within 2 seconds, were taking pictures of the fish, and they were just like in their heads down, going like, sending it out to the world. And I just like, part of me was like, it's sad, you know, because like the moment was not there for them. It was the moment for them was as fast as they can go out and share it. And I just think I'm not going to fight that trend. I mean, that's already out there. It's going to be a tough battle to win. But in general, meditation is helping my kids. I have they went through the training just to be a little present and enjoy that moment before you feel the need to go out there and share it with the world.
I meditate with my daughter. I very much do. Now, my daughter has no social footprint at all because, the reason I'm a third-degree black belt in karate is because I took karate with my daughter. It started when she was 6, and now she's 17, so 11 years of waking up every Saturday and going to karate with her, which is fantastic for you. But I also did not want her on Facebook, so I would do as many things as I could with her to distract her. There's nothing wrong with social media. But now she doesn't. Now I'd be perfectly fine with it. She doesn't have it. And now people say, well, do you have this or this? And she says, no. And they say, why not? And she says, well, I'm training to be in the CIA. Now I think, you know, and it's sort of like an anti-cultural thing now. Yeah. But, and she's a very normal kid. She's very popular. She's not, but I do. So we do martial arts together and we meditate together. And it really does help. It really does help.
So I wish we had another 5 hours to hear you, because I truly believe that we need to hear your voices more and more, because it's going to have a huge impact and accelerate the culture shift that's happening, both in terms of what we're doing in our workplaces and what we're doing with our families, because the two are connected. So thank you so much for what you are modeling, and thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.